welcome, and thank you for being here. First of all, I know it's the third day of the conference, and I know that the alternatives includes sipping a drink at the swimming pool, so we really appreciate you are here. And I wanted to say that I'm extremely honored to be sharing the stage with Kasia Madera, who is the top presenter for BBC News and BBC World News, really top of the game in this field, and it's extremely nice to be sharing the stage with you. I think those of you who know Kasia from the screen or had a chance to see her yesterday during the panel, moderating the panel, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And Kasia came to Dubrovnik straight from meeting the Pope to share with us her over 20 years of experience in the broadcasting industry, and to discuss with us the role of the trusted news provider. So, since we are a content company, I thought it would be good to start from a short clip, and then we'll move on to the questions.
5 seconds. Stand by 2. Superimpose.
100 years.
You're through.
Think about that for a minute.
Stand by, please.
A lot has changed in the world since we began. But championing remarkable storytelling
Mr. Darcy.
is still as important as ever. It's how we started. And it's what we'll always continue to do.
You got this.
And well, we think that's something worth celebrating.
Hi, Bingo.
Self-interest is for the past. Common interest is for the future.
I can feel it all. I can feel the universe.
So as you can see, it is a special year for us as BBC has this centenary anniversary this year. 100 years. The BBC is one of the most trusted international news providers, if not the most trusted. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think BBC do, and the way how we do it, that we cover the news that has earned the reputation that we have?
I think after seeing that promo, we're not needed. Job done, right? Wasn't that absolutely incredible? I've got to say, I've worked, Ziggy, as you were saying, over 20 years at the BBC, over 25 years in broadcasting. I am quite old. I've got a great plastic surgeon, right? But even then, there are some programs, and I'll let you into a secret, so don't tell me off, Ziggy. There are some things that I haven't seen within our programming. There is so much breadth and depth and diversity in the stuff that we do, and I think that is what makes the BBC unique and exceptional. What was fascinating earlier on in the panel discussion, that I don't know if you were hearing it, but crisis, the role of news and FTAs in a crisis environment. Somebody was talking about the role of news and the role of education, information, and entertainment. And that is what the premise was 100 years ago in the creation of the BBC, to educate, to inform, and to entertain. And that is very much at the heart of what we do. Every single one of those programs has the capacity to engage and to bring to life a topic, whatever it is. And like I say, I've not seen all of those programs. There's just too much that we cover, but we do it with the audience at the very heart. And I think that's what gives us this breadth and depth and this interconnectivity, I hope, without sounding patronizing, but we're here for the audience, and at the very heart of everything that we do is the viewer. We've got plenty of viewers, but it's that one viewer. When I'm delivering the news, when I'm speaking into a camera, I'm thinking about that one person. How do I explain a story to that one person? And that is absolutely always at the forefront of my mind. How can I develop a story, explain a story, and bring to life a story, tell the story of somebody? Because again, you know, when people tell me their stories, it's a huge responsibility, and I take that extremely seriously. It's the heart of everything that we do.
I need to say that it's nice to work for a brand that creates this kind of quality programming that you can be really proud of. But you're specializing in news, and based on the Reuters digital report from 2001, the trust in news has actually increased since the pandemic began. However, Eastern Europe has one of the lowest levels of trust in news, with some specific countries particularly low. What opportunity does this offer for impartial news platforms as BBC World News?
I think it's really challenging, and what is just awful is that we thrive on crises and bad news. Ultimately, that's, the news is predominantly bad news. We've got the "and finally" at the end of a news bulletin, but it is predominantly bad news. But what we must always do, and it's at the heart of all of our journalism, is to be independent, to be impartial, and to be trustworthy. And that basically means we're not doing anything really different to what we've been doing for 100 years, right, when it comes to our journalism. We fact-check everything. We will not deliver a story without double-checking, whether it's our sources on the ground, correspondents all over the world, whether it's checking it with various news agencies that we trust. And we have great experience at knowing which news agencies work better in which different regions. We'll double source everything. We're not necessarily doing anything differently throughout the COVID pandemic, throughout the economic crisis, whether it was the migrant crisis back in 2015, plenty of crises in the world. Of course, we're seeing what is happening in Ukraine. And we just ensure that we are doing what we've always done, fact-checking, delivering impartial information, and we kind of weigh it up. You know what? If this group gets annoyed with us and we get pretty much as many complaints from the other side, I think we kind of got it right. Everybody will complain about something, but as long as we know we are getting both sides of the story, then what more can we do? And it's what we've always been doing, and I think that's why the trust is there. And it's like you say, that Reuters, Americans trust us more than their networks. Boom.
Although you were born and you live in the UK, your family is originally from Poland, and you've recently traveled to the Polish-Ukrainian border to speak to refugees. And I wanted to ask you what was your experience, and obviously that's those are the situations where you really see the tragedy, and I wanted to ask you how important it is that you are on the ground and can talk to the people and deliver the kind of a message to the wider audience.
It's absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical to be on the ground, to speak to people. And again, journalists, I think, are we one of the most hated professions? I think pretty much up there. Lawyers, politicians, we're up there, right? I'm not going to pretend. I got to the Polish-Ukraine border a day after the war broke out. We were one of the first international broadcasters broadcasting from there, live and continuous broadcasting. I'll be honest with you, and this is Chatham House rules, so I'm not allowed to express an opinion, but I will with you guys, because We've done the parties over the couple of nights before. I feel like I know you all, and it's fantastic to have you all here, not by the bar, or by the pool. I'm not going to, remind you where you could be, but thank you for being here with us today, with Ziggy and I. But it's just absolutely heartbreaking. It completely, those first days, when I look back in the first reports that we were doing, I was talking about tens of thousands of people crossing that border, and then it was, by the end of the first day, 100,000 people. The end of the first day. By the end of, I think, day 4, we were talking about 1 million people that had left Ukraine. This is the biggest displacement of people since the Second World War across Europe. To witness that firsthand, to see those people, is just harrowing, right? No other way of saying it. To then stick a microphone in their face and say, talk to me, is just disrespectful. I felt terrible doing it. But people want to talk. And that's what just totally breaks me. People want to share their stories. And these aren't, okay, we talk about stories and storytelling, and authentic storytelling is at the heart of what we do. You've witnessed that, right? But these aren't stories. These are people's lives. And it is my responsibility to then take that and bring it to our audience. And that's what, that's what all of you enable us to do. So thank you for that. You take it to your different platforms, you take it to our audience, you make what I deliver accessible. And at the heart of that is whether it's the mother who breaks in tears when she's telling me about her 19-year-old son who she had to leave behind in Ukraine, whether it's the wife who left her husband at the border, and it's not just Ukraine, there are just so many tragedies. As the woman earlier was talking in the panel, we're not talking about Syria, we are talking about Syria. We're talking about all of those stories. Look at our website. We are revisiting all of the stories that we've covered. But yeah, it's harrowing, it's heartbreaking, it's absolutely crucial to be there. And having regional connections. My father was born in Lviv when history very turbulent in this part of the world, the borders changing, a lot of flux, but my family originally from Poland. Yeah, it helps to speak the language. It helps to have that connection. And we have multi-language platforms across the BBC. We are close to 500 million people connecting and using and reading our content. It is an amazing responsibility. We don't take that lightly. It is a responsibility. It's a challenge. But it's a wonderful that people will come to us with their stories. And it's the trust, I hope, that we continue to deliver. And yeah, we will have critics. Of course we will do. But we'll have critics on both sides. And I think, again, that's where we're kind of getting it right.
A big focus in the pay TV industry is attracting those younger, elusive viewers. So I'd like to speak to you about one of the programs, of the formats that you're doing, Outside Source. Because this program looks kind of like no other, and it's evolutionary storytelling type of a program where it kind of has these roots in the online world and online news experience. Can you tell us a bit more about this program and kind of what can other news outlets learn from the way how you do it, we do it?
So we're always after those elusive younger viewers, right? The ones that, perhaps don't pay the bills. It's mum and dad that pays the bills, but we want to nurture them and take them forward with us as they grow older and to kind of be with us. And that's ultimately, I guess, what what all of this is about. So Outside Source, who here has watched Outside Source? Oh, wow. Both of you. Thank you very much. Wow, amongst our 136. Right, it's one of those programs that it develops, and that's what we really are into, trying something, and if it doesn't work, all right, you know what? We're willing to say, that didn't work, that was a disaster, we'll move on. So at the beginning with Outside Source, it initially actually started on the World Service. And so it was a World Service program where people called in and spoke to us, and we were taking outside sources, feeds from all over the world. And we tried to bring that into a TV format. We had a big screen. I used to call it my nemesis. It was like a massive, great big tablet, like what we sometimes do on the weather screen. And you'd press buttons, super, super interactive, but just bloody awful, a nightmare. It was always breaking. So you'd press something, it wouldn't come up, then you'd press something else, it wouldn't come up. But it was great, it was revolutionary. As viewing habits kind of change and people are using more their tablets, their phones, and things, the screens get smaller, we realized that big screen didn't then work on a little screen. So we flipped the format a little bit. So what we do is, essentially what we do with Outside Sources, we deconstruct a news story, and we don't assume that everybody is in the weeds of the Conservative Party vote of no confidence voting mechanism, right? Because let's face it, unless you're a political correspondent and you're in and out living that story, you're not going to know 100%. We don't assume knowledge. We're here to inform, to educate, and also to entertain, right? Let's not forget about that. So we deconstruct a story. We spend maybe a little bit longer than normal. A news story is what, like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes on a bog standard bulletin. We take a little bit more time. So we give a news story maybe 5-6 minutes in tele terms. That's quite a long time, right? But we'll take little elements of it and just bring people, remind them of the background, and just not assume knowledge. And then that works in the sense that you can just lift that little segment, clip it up, and stick it on a digital platform. We call them explainers, and people love that because, like I say, not everybody is following 100% of how many parties there were at Downing Street. Quite a few, okay? People like that format where we just take them with us and just remind everybody of what was happening. So you kind of leave, you've watched it, you leave the programme sort of feeling that, yeah, I know the background to it as well. Not just the latest top headline, but also a little bit of the background. And that works for online as well. And we've been trying, the point is we evolve and we are willing to rip something up if it doesn't work. Back in the day, it was all about the Facebook live streams, and I was doing a lot of like Facebook Interactive, Kind of moved on from that now. It's all about the TikToks and that kind of movement. And do you know what? Next year, it'll be something different, but we're willing to embrace that, and we're willing to be guided by the audience. What's the audience doing? What are those elusive young kids doing? Snapchat, sure. Telegram, sure. We'll branch out and we'll try, and we're willing to say, that didn't work, that did work, we'll develop that further, and just be willing to adapt. That costs money, and that costs talent, and that costs time. And when we get it wrong, my goodness, do our viewers let us know. Love our viewers and love that interaction. But that's great, because it's a journey, and it's a relationship, and it's about trust, and that is what is the essence of the BBC.
Kasia, I could hear you for hours. And I'm afraid, we are coming to the end of time. So I have a last question just to sum it up. Your piece of advice, your opinion. What will ensure the BBC lasts for another 100 years?
Right. I'm not allowed to give my opinions. That's the whole thing about the BBC. But look, I think if we're going in the direction that we're going, and if we just understand that things change, and you guys are at the forefront of that, you know how quickly stuff changes. If we can just embrace that, but still be authentic in our storytelling, and just still remember that at the heart of that is the person who has told me their experience, and that's their lived experience, it's their lived truth. To respect that and to bring that to a wider audience, I guess, it's all that we can do.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and wish you a great day. Thank you, Kasia.
Thank you.